One of the words that we've used a lot in previous videos is sensory integration. And it's a bit of a confusing term, so I thought I would take this opportunity on a cold, snowy day to talk about brain integration.
I'm Dr. Scott Therrell, and this is my practice, Functional Restoration. I became a chiropractor 20 years ago to focus on complex cases specializing in neurology. Subscribe and welcome.
Your brain is there to take information in. It wants to take all of these different senses in: smell, taste, vision, hearing, touch, balance, right, and movement. And the goal is to have a brain that does that with great ease. So you've seen me in other videos talk about eye movements. You've seen me talk about balance. You've seen me talk about rhythm and timing and motor planning and speed and smoothness of motor planning. And all of that's important because whether you're a child whose brain hasn't been able to integrate those sensory motor pathways automatically, or whether you're an adult, right, or a teenager who maybe had a concussion or had a whiplash or some other type of injury where you used to feel great and now that sensory integration has got disconnected. Our goal with brain-based rehabilitation and integrative medicine is to give you the fuel and the activation to bring all of that sensory motor function back together. Now, if you were to go outside right now, we would hope that your brain knows what to expect. Hopefully you would know what a snowflake is going to feel like on your cheek. You would know what the wind is going to feel like on your face. You would be dressed appropriately and know what that clothing is going to feel like on you so that it feels good. It doesn't feel odd. You would understand the wind whipping through the trees, right, and the sound of that. And you would have good enough balance systems and coordination systems to be able to move around on the snow and on the ice so that it didn't feel uncomfortable. When sensory integration becomes challenging and starts to not be simple, it causes a fight or flight stress response. And it's automatic, and it's part of your survival mechanism. And it's there to help you understand that you're in a dangerous situation and you need to change and you need to move it to get out of that danger and find the place that's safe. The goal of sensory integration in a chiropractic neurology office like I've owned for 20 years now, since February of 2000, since I've opened, is to make sure, no matter what your age, that we make sure you're fueled with a healthy diet, with good sleep patterns, with good sleep hygiene, right, with good relationships, with good neurotransmitter function, with good hormone function, whether it's stress hormones or thyroid hormones or sex hormones, depending upon your age. And we want to make sure that from a sensory motor function, you can pass every test I throw at you. Whether it's the interactive metronome with motor planning in milliseconds of accuracy, whether it's the virtual reality system with peripheral vision, how do you process what you see out here, whether it's central vision and gaze stabilization following one single object in a very simple line. You'd be amazed at how hard that is for a lot of people, especially if you've had a head injury. And when we find what's hard and we start to practice it and train the brain and train the body so that sensory motor function starts to integrate again, all of a sudden that fight or flight system starts to relax. And instead of that body and brain always being in fight or flight, survival, we can start to calm down and go into rest and digest. So that regardless of whether you're a child in a classroom or whether you're an adult in a work environment or a parent who has to manage a household, manage everything from meal planning to organization of children, regardless of what your daily task is, you can pull together all the information around you from what you see and what you hear with how you move and how your balance systems and motor systems work in a way that isn't a stress response, that doesn't fire your fight or flight nervous system. Because if your sympathetic fight or flight nervous system is firing all the time, the goal is to figure out, do we need to work with hormones and neurotransmitters and diet and inflammation and heal your gut? Or do we need to work with sensory motor integration and do different types of therapies? And yes, indeed, chiropractic and hands-on therapy, especially if you're a patient that has pain, is an important part of that sensory integration, because you shouldn't have pain, right? Pain will fire that fight or flight nervous system all day long. So sensory integration, at the end of the day, the best way to describe it is, can your brain take in information from your surroundings, regardless of what your surroundings are, in a way that is easy and consistent so that you can respond to them in a way that isn't a stress response? And we have so many wonderful tools to do that here at Functional Restoration. And it's so fun to help, again, for the past 20 years, children and adults of all different ages start to integrate their senses and their motor system so that their brain and their body feel good. So that when they walk outside on a day like today, they don't worry about balance. They don't worry about how all this jackets feel on their body, and is it too heavy and I can't move right in it and I feel constricted. Oh, that sound spooked me, and oh my gosh, what is that? Any of those things can cause a stress response. They shouldn't. We don't want them to, and we want to make sure we do everything we can to integrate the brain and the body as quickly as possible. Listen, I'm Dr. Scott Therrell. I know that was a little bit of a broad sense of sensory integration. Watch some of the other videos we have here on our YouTube channel for more detailed information about things like visual gaze stability, and interactive metronome. And if you're in the local southeastern Wisconsin area, such as on this very snowy day, by all means, if you have questions or concerns, reach out to me. I'll be happy to talk and hear what's going on. I'm wishing you your very best brain, your best body, and your best life. Thanks for listening.